I have made you the same honest admission at the end of essay after essay. Each tool can fail. The word can be twisted. The spirit can be counterfeited. The body can lose its collective mind. And each time, I caught the fall the same way. Yes, but the other two will catch it. When one cord bends, the other two are still standing there, unbent to set it right. But I left one stone unturned on purpose because it is the heaviest one in the whole book. What happens when they all go dark at the same time? When the word is bent and the spirit is fake and the whole church has lost its mind, together, in an age black enough that there is no unbent cord left anywhere to do the catching. I owe you that answer now. Let me say the hard thing first, and plainly. In an age like that, no method on earth will save you. You cannot triangulate 3 bent cords into a straight line. You cannot think your way out of deception that has captured not only your own mind, but every source you would use to check it. If your security this whole time has secretly been the method, your skill at running the 3 tools, then in the genuine dark you're simply lost, and I will not pretend otherwise. And this is not a horror story I invented to frighten you. It has already happened, is happening, and will happen until the Lord comes at some time, somewhere in history, ancient, near, present, or future. There have been long stretches, centuries, when the whole church quietly learned to read the book through the wrong world. Not its own ancient context, the one it was written in, but the reigning philosophy of whatever age it happened to land in. The categories of the surrounding culture became the lens, and the scriptures got bent to fit them. Enormous and basic things were being read very nearly upside down, and hardly anyone could feel it because everyone was reading the same way at once. Notice what made it so total. All 3 cords bent in the same direction together. The word was read through the borrowed lens. The teachers and traditions explained it through the borrowed lens. And the whole gathered church, its schools, its councils, its confessions had adopted the borrowed lens too. There was no unbent cord left because the bend had gone all the way down. That is what all 3 going dark actually looks like, and it lasted not for a bad season, but for ages. Hear me carefully, not everything went dark. Through even the most bent centuries, real truth was carried, real saints were made, the central things about Christ were fiercely guarded. It was a refraction, not a blackout. Light through a warped window, not the lights switched off. But warped is warped, and much was lost or buried for a very long time. So here's the question that should be keeping you up. If it could happen to the whole church for ages, what exactly was holding the mind of Christ in the world the entire time? Because something was. It never once went utterly out. Here is the thing this whole book has been quietly building toward, and now it has to be said outright. The tools were always real and good and necessary, but they were never the thing holding you up. Go back to the workshop. You are not the craftsman. You are the work on the bench. The tools are the craftsman's tools, not yours. And when every tool in the shop has been broken or bent, the craftsman is still standing there. Your security was never a procedure you could run. It was always a person, and his character is the floor underneath everything else. His character shows up in the darkest ages as 3 stubborn mercies. First, he keeps a remnant. He always has. When Elijah was certain he was the last believer left alive on earth, that the darkness had simply won, God corrected him with a number. I have kept for myself 7,000 who have not bowed the knee to Baal. 1 Kings, chapter 19, verse 18. Hidden, not gone. That is the unbroken pattern of the whole Bible. He kept Noah when the entire world's mind had gone wrong. He kept the 7,000 when the nation had. He kept a faithful line, often underground, often unimpressive, all the way down to a manger. There has never once been an age dark enough for God to lose his faithful few. So however alone you feel in a dark time, you are not as alone as you feel. Somewhere kept there are others. Second, And this is the mercy that explains how any recovery is even possible. He keeps the text. Think about what that means. The capture I described bent the reading of Scripture. It could not destroy the Scripture itself. God saw to it that the book survived, in its own words, even through the centuries when the church had lost the frame to read it rightly. The original was never truly gone, only buried under a bad lens, waiting. The anchor held, even when every hand had the wrong grip on it. And so, in time, the field can reopen. Lost worlds get dug back out of the ground. Forgotten languages get read again. The buried context of the Scriptures comes back into the light, and suddenly people can read the book in its own world once more and see for themselves how far the drift had gone. If you have lived through any of that reopening in your own lifetime, do not call it an accident. That is the rescue happening on a timescale of centuries. The very fact that the drift can now be seen is providence at work, prying the warped window back open. And the same humility applies to us, or we have learned nothing in this whole book. The recovery is itself only one of the tools, and it can be bent into a fancier mirror just as easily. The ancient world really meant whatever I happen to prefer. We are not the generation that finally got it perfect. We are a generation God is graciously letting see a little further, and we hold even that with an open hand. Third, He leads the hungry home. He has a way of steering a genuinely hungry soul back toward the truth and back toward the others He has kept, when by every rule that soul should have stayed lost. The book that falls into your hands at exactly the right moment. The teacher you never should have met. The door that opens when every door should have been shut. Which leaves you with exactly one thing to do, and is the same thing this whole book has asked of you from the start. You cannot manufacture the rescue. You cannot engineer providence or summon the remnant. You can only stay the kind of person the rescue can reach. Hungry, honest, and willing to be wrong. You will seek me and find me. God says, when you seek me with all your heart. Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 13. And notice, the made-up mind is never hungry. It is full. It is satisfied. It sits perfectly content in front of its own reflection and feels no lack at all. So if there's a hunger in you, a gnawing suspicion that the picture you carry might not be the real Christ, a willingness to be shown you were wrong, do not despise it. That hunger is not your weakness. It may be the surest sign that the living breath is already at work in you, because the counterfeit never produces it. The hunger is the one thing you bring. He brings everything else. Do you see now what this does to the whole workshop? The Word, the Spirit, the body, the careful weighing of all three, every bit of it real, good, given by God. But not one piece of it was ever your salvation. The tools do not save you. The craftsman does. The entire workshop rests, in the end, not on your skill with the instruments, but on the faithfulness of the one who put them in your hands and promised never to let go of a soul that truly wants Him. This is not, hear me, a permission slip to throw the tools away. They can all fail, so I don't really need them. That is just the lone wolf again, talking himself back into the windowless room. In every dark age, the remnant still clung to the Word, still had the Spirit, still found each other. The backstop holds the tools up. It does not replace them. But underneath the tools, holding the whole thing, was never a technique you operate. It was a rescue you receive. So we come almost back to where we began, on our knees, with the honest confession that the Jesus in our heads might be one we made up. Except now you know what you've been leaning on the whole time. Not your reading, not your feelings, not even your church. The character of a God who keeps a remnant, keeps His word, and walks the hungry all the way home, across a lifetime and across the ages. Which leaves the last and best question in this entire series. Why? Why does God go to all this trouble, the tools, the patience, the rescue, the keeping, to form His own mind in a person like you? It is not so you can win arguments. It is not even merely so you could be holy. It is for something far greater than that. And it is where we end.